Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 9, Episode 9 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, slated to come out on June 15th, 2026. And 2026? 2026. I need to learn how to talk, evidently, today. So we're going to hop right into talking about the cider I brewed over the winter break. So I brew cider about once a year, and I normally brew like you know, um, 2 gallons, 3 gallons of it. I think I brewed 3 gallons this time. I also made a ginger beer around the same time. And we're going to talk about the ginger beer a little bit later because I've got an older ginger beer I made from last year and the year before last, and ginger beer I made this year, and like kind of the difference between like the two and stuff like that. But this one, I just kind of made my regular cider. It's like a mild sparkling cider. It's not heavily carbonated, but it's naturally carbed. And, we kind of talk about these every single time I make one. So I'm just curious what you think this time. The difference between this time and last time is I did back sweeten it a little bit with some erythritol
Okay.
to make it a little bit sweeter, but not have to worry about it like having to do any sort of pasteurization or something after it carbonated.
Yeah. It's good. I'll say this, and this is gonna sound bad before it sounds really good.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's well brewed. It's not the best cider I would expect from you, because you've gotten really, really good, and most things I drink from you are just simply phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is not bad. It's just simple. I really do think at this point as a brewer, you've probably outgrown that recipe. I think it's a little too. It is a very standard, very, very well made cider, but it's a standard cider.
Right. It's just something I enjoy. It's
Yeah.
not. It is. It's kind of like getting a Guinness. I don't
Yeah.
really like. It's not my favorite thing or anything like that. But when I want a Guinness, I just really enjoy a Guinness.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful way to put it. It's a very kind of old reliable type of drink.
Yeah.
Like I like it vastly more than that beer we did last episode.
Yeah.
I will slowly slip this whole thing and very much enjoy it all the way through. But when I caught myself on it as I was tasting, I was like, okay, man, what's the spice in here? I'm not getting it because I'm so used to more complex things from you because you like the more complex drinks. I think, I think it's good. I think it's as good as you can make a recipe this simple.
Yeah.
And it just really did immediately bring to mind of like, man, he's really gotten good at brewing because I'm just used to when I know I'm drinking something that you've made for it to be this very kind of like flavorful, very interesting drink.
Yeah, it's not interesting. It's not complex. It is kind of where I started brew. But what I can say about it is the things that have changed in it are acidity when it's young, because this is a very young cider.
It is.
And it is neither extra tart or extra bitter from the youngness. It doesn't have that youth feeling to it that a lot of like beers and ciders and things like that that you can make do, especially ciders or apple wines.
Yeah.
Because this is bone dry, but it has just a little bit of sweetness from the erythritol, I think. It's like a 1.01 at most.
Yeah, and it's a very natural sweetness. Like, the amount of erythritol does not come off as chemically. It does not. I would not have known you back sweetened it instead of just stopping it at kind of like that. Yeah, I'd even say it's closer to like a 1.0. Like it's a little bit of sweetness is there, but it's a nice dry. And you're right, for something this young, there's the tiniest little bit of sulfur at the end.
Right.
But that's just going to off-gas. I mean, when we try this warm, it's probably not even going to be there anymore.
Yep.
This was a very low-stress brew.
Yeah.
You can tell those yeasts were taken care of. They didn't run out of nutrients or any of that other stuff that is prone to happen when it's a very simple recipe. Because you've got your TASA schedules and all that stuff really dialed in. Most just plain apple kind of ciders just don't have the nutrient load to support the yeast, and that's why they need so long to rest, is to get all that kind of funkiness out of them. But because we made it in winter, this is like 6 months old.
Yeah, at max.
Yeah, at max. So that's that's a pretty good showing.
I think I made it. I think I bottled it in February, and I made it over the Christmas.
Yeah,
month,
then
so.
Exactly. Maybe not even 6 months then.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good run of it.
The thing that I like the most about this is it's got some brown sugar in it, so you get a little bit of molasses note with the apple. It's got a little bit of cinnamon and clove in it because it's like you need that to make your apple cider have like slightly more flavors. But I didn't put a lot of those in the cider like I do with. I have another cider recipe that's like a apple pie, apple cider. And that one's more complex. That one is more like an apple wine, but it's not quite as alcoholic. It's not like over 10% or something like that. This just really ended up being like kind of a fun reminder of why I like to do recipes that I can repeat. The ginger beer ended up being kind of the same thing, and I'm not going to talk about the ginger beer right now because I discovered some stuff that like actually is going to elevate my ginger beer making and ginger mead, because I really want to make a ginger mead that is really, 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 really spicy, but also has that like honey, like orange or floral or whatever type of honey I choose to do, has that like honey characteristic to it. And I want to explore that a little bit and just have it be ginger though, not like extra spices or anything like that. And so what I was trying to explore with this was just, does it have apple, and what are the things that I can do to bring out just regular apple flavor? And what I discovered in this through this recipe's life is that you need to feed and care for your yeast. You need to pick a yeast that does really well with fruity flavors. So something that gives off more fruity esters, like a Safel does pretty well. That's what I use for this one. You can also use like a Mangrove Jacks and stuff like that. There's a couple of Lalvins that work really well for that. And then Red Star has a few too, especially if you want to go slightly higher ABV. So this one I used Safel SO4, SO4, which is generally an ale yeast, but it works really well. It'll bring out some fruity flavors sometimes and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, I don't want it to be a spiced cider, but what can I add to this in secondary that will just bring out the apple flavor? And I just put a little bit of brown sugar in secondary, had put a little bit in primary to bring it up to the ABV that I wanted. And then I added a little bit of cinnamon. I think it was just a cinnamon stick. I didn't add any clove to it. Add a little bit of cinnamon to it just to give it just a little bit of that like cinnamon flavor, because it was 2 gallons
just like
brew,
little...
so just a tiny bit. So there's not really any spice in it. It's just apple.
I definitely agree with that. It doesn't taste cinnamony, but probably more than like the heat of cinnamon, what you get is a little bit of earthiness. Which does, like, it kind of gives that like apple peel sort of flavor to it.
Exactly. You get a little bit of earthiness because I didn't put ground cinnamon. It was a cinnamon stick. And I didn't put a lot of cinnamon, so you didn't get, like the cinnamon spice. And I didn't add anything else to it. Well, there is a little bit of rum in this too, because that's what I use to.
But probably not in a quantity that's going to really impact.
It is maybe like 2 tablespoons or something like that. But ultimately, it didn't. The one thing that I'm a little disappointed in it, I wanted it to carbonate a little bit more. I wanted it to be sparkling, like a sparkling water. And while some of the bottles are that way, something in the cinnamon, interaction seemed to have affected the yeast in a way that didn't cause that. I should have added a little bit more yeast in the end after I pulled the cinnamon out.
I think
something.
Cinnamon is antiseptic.
It can be.
And I think erythritol as well has antimicrobial properties. I'm not sure if it deals with the bacteria, but you know,
Yeah.
I can definitely see what you're saying. Is that once it's now gone dry, there's not a lot of sugar left, and there maybe are some ingredients that inhibit the growth. It could be like a little spotty
Yeah.
on the carbonation.
Yeah. So either I should have force carbed it or done something like that, because this would do a little bit better with a little bit more carbonation to
It
it.
would, yeah, especially if you went standard CO2
Right.
because that brings a little bit of acidity into it. It would be very good with nitrogen as well. It just doesn't impart the same acidity to it. I think some straight like CO2 big bubble. You're
Yeah.
right. That would really. I mean, again, it's very good, but it would kind of elevate it a little bit.
Yeah. It's more effervescent than carbonated
Mm-hmm.
at this point, and I would prefer for it to be carbonated. So that's going to be my next thing to work on with this recipe. I am going to do it again probably towards the end of the year because I like a good fall cider.
Mm-hmm.
And all my other ciders tend to give me heartburn. This one doesn't. So that's why I like to make it. As I can
Gotcha.
enjoy it as a cider. It's not too acidic.
Yeah, that
It's
would make sense too, because a lot of additives you put into fruits are things to brighten them up,
right.
and those bring their own like digestion things with them. You know.
Right. Yeah. So, if anybody wants the recipe, they can reach out to me. It's a pretty simple recipe, though. It's almost the same one that you gave me. It's just basically however many, like, for say you're going to make a gallon, you get
Mm-hmm.
a gallon jug of like Mott's or something like that. Get some apple juice concentrate that doesn't have any preservatives in it, fates or ites or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. And you put that into your container. You then back sweeten it or sweeten it with brown sugar to bring up the ABV to wherever you want it to be. It's going to be somewhere around 3% when you start out. I normally get mine between 5 and 7. I think this
Mm-hmm.
one's 7% ABV. Yeah, it's 7% ABV, and I just then let it ferment till it gets to the end. It takes about 3 weeks. Once it's fermented, of course, I put a TOSNA schedule in there for anything
Mm-hmm.
that's over a gallon. If it's a gallon, then I just put all the nutrients in it up front
Yeah.
because that generally works fine. Um, Anything that's over a gallon, do 3 times whatever the TOSNA 3.0 schedule is. Work through that, and then come back and use some brown sugar erythritol, not
Oh,
straight
okay.
erythritol. That's why it doesn't quite taste like erythritol. It
Gotcha.
has those molasses flavors and things like that in it. Or so you can use Truvia too. That's
Yeah. So is that some percentage of sugar and some percentage of erythritol, or are they just like taking straight erythritol and then adding other stuff to it to make it the brown
it
sugar
should
erythritol?
be taking straight erythritol or whatever sweetener it is
Mm.
and adding the brown to it.
Okay.
It
Interesting.
shouldn't be a split between the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so uh, yeah, so do that, and then you know put some a cinnamon stick in it and let it set for like a month or so, just so it imparts all those like kind of
Yeah.
flavors and everything, and then bottle it. And on bottling day, you put in if you need to put in a little bit more yeast, you put in a little bit more yeast, and you put in the amount of sugar that you want per bottle. I use little carbonation
Yep.
pellets.
Tabs. Yeah.
Yeah, and that works. So it ends up working out pretty well. But like I said, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it with anybody. Let's talk about local LLMs with openclaw.
Mm.
Are you familiar with openclaw?
No, but I've used kind of like similar platforms of just like kind of being the interface for loading up a model.
Yeah, well, so that's more like Llama. Llama is the interface for loading up the model. So Llama CCP, CCP, it's Llama CCP, or OLLAMA are like the interfaces that you'd use
Mm.
for it. OpenClaw is like a interface for you to be able to pull in all your resources. So it's similar to the way that you can use like MCP servers
Okay.
within stuff or skills in context, but it also keeps the context of whatever you were doing, and it can switch out models for whatever you need for it to. OpenClaw is very powerful and requires a lot of interactions into other systems. So one of the things that it can do, let's say that you want your Gmail to be analyzed by AI and then it to go through and be able to like set appointments for you or something like that on your calendar. That's a very simple use case, but say you want to do that. Well, you can interact with the AI and say, "Hey, what's coming up on my from my email? What? Give me a summary of all the emails that I got over the last week. Is there anything from, my friend, or is there anything from my business partner? Is there anything like here?" And it can talk to you. The problem is you could also tell it, "Hey, delete that email," and it deletes like a whole bunch of emails because it thinks it's deleting the one email that you wanted it to, right? So you have to be careful with what you give it access to. It can be tricked into doing things. It's extremely off the guardrails with what it can do.
Yeah.
But it is a way of pulling in context outside of the model for it to be able to do web searches and things like that, but also run skills, MCP servers, and other things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been experimenting with it. The computer that I've got over, it's like nobody can see what we're doing, but I'm pointing to my right. I have on the other side of my recliner in my office, I have a tower computer that's sitting over there. I've put an NVIDIA 3060 12 gig card in there, and I put openclaw and Olama and LLM Studio on that computer. I haven't set up any MCP servers. That's like my next thing, and then setting up some skills to be able to use those and interact with stuff. I'm not going to give it access to my Gmail or anything like that, but I do want to kind of maybe give it access, like read-only access to my LLMs, not LLMs, what am I saying? To my Home Assistant server, and get it to give me access, get advice on how I'm going to use automations, or like where my automations may be inefficient, or some automations that I could do with some of the equipment that I have throughout the house. And I think that is where something like this really shines. I've also been experimenting with local LLMs for a while. And like we both know that image generation on a video card is pretty simple to get done. I mean, you don't need like a lot of RAM. You don't need anything like that. And you can have like, because I think what you're using like a 30 series GPU or a 20.
I think it's a 3080.
Yeah, and I've got a 3080 and a 3080 Ti, and those don't have 12 gigs of DDR6 or anything like that in them. I think mine is like 8 gigs or something like that. It's a smaller number than.
Yeah, I have to go check on mine. I thought it was a 12 gig, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, I don't think they do. It might be 10 gigs. The 3080 I don't think ever had more than like 8 gigs, I think. But I might be wrong about that. Can look that up. Could be wrong, but that's the reason that I bought this, is because it had more RAM than the other one. And so we had a little bit of fundage still from like our Patreon when we used to run one. And I took that money out and I bought a second 3060 12 gig
There you go.
and another computer that I want to see if I can build a little AI server for like under $500 that would outperform something, that you would have like from, some other like manufacturer. So I've gotten like 3 different setups here. I've got an AMD card that has 24 gigs of RAM, but is not as good with training models as some things would be. I've got my smaller 12 gig cards, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to, what computer is going to end up holding what card. But in the end, the idea is I'll have 2 systems set up that I can look at and see what the performance is, either with dual 12 gig GPUs, or one with an AMD and one with a 12 gig GPU, a 3060 in it, and see how that like kind of works out. Does it create like a better workload on the AMD card? Like, what are the things that I can do with these computers that would end up being more efficient? And ultimately, how much power do they draw when they're doing this sort of stuff and everything. And I want to go through those kind of paces. So probably not this year because it's going to be a lot of experimentation, but or at least like in the next like 3 or 4 months, but maybe before the end of the season, I'll have something to talk about there. And if I get everything set up right, maybe I'll give one to you to take home, and then you can like experiment with like having your own local LLM and your own openclaw setup and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to look into openclaw because because I don't get a chance to play PC games anymore. I've converted my PC into basically an AI machine where I play with a lot of local models and stuff like that. So I'm using a different setup than a llama, but like I guess openclaw is going to really allow me to have multiple models loaded in with multiple instances. It sounds like maybe you're connecting to other ones. I don't have a secondary, so maybe that would be the benefit of having another computer. Is I can have one be the test of like, and here's my regular PC that does these things, and now you're my kind of almost like controller that's interfacing with it.
Yeah, so like one way that you could do it is say you have a server that runs your MCPs, maybe hosts your openclaws. Like I have that server that's behind you in the rack, and it's connected either directly or indirectly over the network to your LLMs, and it can call those LLMs and load them and unload them as needed from your environment of choice, whether it's Olama or LLM Studio or anything like that. The beauty of having it at home is you can use something like Tailscale to be able to like go back into it, and so you can have it remotely on your phone securely, and you're not having to do any sort of like weird funky things, with it.
Yeah, that's a good benefit because I do sometimes find myself like out and about where I maybe want to do something with a model because I like using them to try and like be more productive.
Yeah.
So a lot of like managing my schedule for me, which obviously I don't have once I'm out of the house. You're right. That's a pretty good use case.
Yeah. So it can help you manage your schedule. You can ask it questions. If you open up the web search MCPs, you can do things like that. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do with them. And the beauty of it is you're not contributing to the AI data centers. Now, they were still trained somewhere. So
that's true.
You can't ignore that. But my ultimate goal is that either I give you access to these or like something like that, and I give Venus access to them. And so she can use access and do the things that she needs to do with AI without giving all that over to ChatGPT or Copilot or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which I, eventually maybe pull in some of Claude and like be able to pull in some of the Claude code stuff and everything, because you can run like Gemma 4B and stuff like that on really small models. And it seems like the sweet space is somewhere around 24 to 32 gigs of video memory. So depending on how I can set this up, I'll either have two 12 gigs, which equals 24 gig card, and like good CUDA cores, so I'll be able to do a lot. Or I'll have one card that was fairly cheap that was 24 gigs, and then maybe I could have 48 gigs set up for that, and that would allow me to load up larger models.
Yeah, I mean that'll get. I mean, most of the things people would use in a house on there.
Exactly.
I don't see too common ones that are past like 24B, so you'd load that just fine with plenty of room to spare.
Right, exactly. And then there's some stuff that I've been experimenting with and researching. There are flags that you can put in to where, because it used to be that the model was built where everything turned on and off when you called it. So they had workers within the model that would all turn on and turn off and turn on and turn off. Now, as I understand it, the worker that you need just turns on. So you might have 10 or 5 or 3 that turn on. And so you don't need to have all those loaded up at the same time.
So you'll be running several very large models at the same time because it'll just kind of swap them in and out as needed.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could run one model that's very large super efficiently using your built-in RAM, and like if you have 48 gigs of RAM on your system, or 64 gigs, something like that, you could load it up into system RAM, so like your DDR4 or your DDR5, but then the stuff that needs to be called really fast, the workers that are doing the scheduling and the work and everything like that, and need to load things into RAM, can pull what they need in efficiently.
Yeah.
And you can get 17 tops per second on a card, like what we're talking about, instead of 5 or 3.
Yeah.
I'm getting somewhere around 12, 13 right now with just the inefficient setup that I have.
Okay.
So I'm expecting there to be some efficiencies there. I am not looking to have the most accurate responses, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for it to do things like play D&D with me when I want to test something, and I don't want to give that to ChatGPT or go run that on what was that, AI Dungeon, or anything like that. Will it help me troubleshoot a technical issue and give me back some feedback that might lead me down a better route without having to go to Gemini to do that? I would like for it to maybe analyze my recipes and the stuff that I have in stock and tell me what are some good ways to be able to do that. So looking for some good options there.
Yeah, I'm feeling you.
All right, so let's talk about reputable malware. So the two things is going on here. I have two articles here. One, a well-known political figure that is involved with our government currently had malware installed on their brand website for their clothing brand. And then another had to do with an advertising network that was spouting out malware.
Yeah.
I don't really want to I put in articles in there. People can know about who they are, but really, I don't want to necessarily talk about the specifics, but the idea that a reputable brand or someone who you would expect to be not distributing malware is distributing malware. And this is kind of the reason that I don't allow ads on my personal network and stuff like that. And I block trackers, and I block malvertising, and I block all those other things. I block command and control servers and all that stuff, especially on my data VLAN, the one where all of my production and home equipment is. And it's because I'm not concerned about getting an ad. You can give me a spot. You can sell me an ad or whatever, especially if you're giving me something for free. I don't care about that. But I don't want the malware and tracking and data collection, because that's not what we agreed on. You will sell me your product. I will watch your show.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just so much of an evolution of your data is now the payment, right? Because you're right. I think we're past a world where it's hey, you're going to watch this advertisement, and 1 out of 100 of you will buy it, and that'll be the reason the advertiser comes to me and pays me so that you can watch this show for free. Now, so much of the value in who you are is learning about you so they can sell that data, that I'm not surprised to see things like this happening.
Yeah.
It's a travesty, especially really reputable stuff. I mean, you've seen stuff like this forever, where free flash games used to actually mine crypto on your computer, or things like that, using your resources, and those are definitely would be considered malicious. But this, if you want to interact with me at all, you want to go to my website and just view my website, I need to be able to sell that interaction. It's just such a perversion of the internet.
Yeah.
There was a time where selling stuff on the internet felt very similar to buying something in a store. Where you just went to the website, you bought it, it got shipped to you, got it. And then okay, there's going to be some ads on the website to run the website, but music plays, there's flyers and little clip catalogs and stuff like that at the store too. So maybe the ad on the website's more intrusive, but the same concept is there, right? That the store is doing something that also makes a little bit of extra money because they've got 5 business cards at the front or something like that, But now we're really at a point where it's look, if I go into Best Buy to grab something at Best Buy, sure, they're going to try and sell me something else, or there's going to be some ad playing on the TVs, or there's going to be something like that. But I buy my item, get out, and if I decide I don't want to buy an item, I just leave. And apart from maybe seeing that ad, no part of my life was really impacted. And now we've got websites actually, but actually, you wanted to come into my store, so I need to know who you are. I want to add to your AdSense. I want to be able to sell, this data to Facebook so that they can do their stuff with you more accurately. You're not window shopping anymore. You're mugging me. You're taking my stuff, and I haven't agreed to an interaction yet. I've received no product. I have just simply existed within your realm, and you have found a way to monetize that by being, in all honesty, very software-wise destructive potentially to the person. It's maybe a little overblown to call it mugging, but it is still a hostile action to put malware on someone's computer.
Yeah. Especially without their...
with no knowledge or consent.
Knowledge. I mean, the one on the well-known person's website was like a Cloudflare pop-up, fake Cloudflare pop-up that you were supposed to copy something and put it into your command prompt. Yeah, so like
it's not
you
even
definitely
good malware.
Yeah, like complete malware, like not even like, but at least it wasn't auto downloading like some of the other things.
Yeah,
do.
I was thinking this was like scripts running off of cookies and sessions and stuff.
No, but anyone that ran it, like they just owned your computer at that point in time.
So do we know was this like ransomware or something?
No, it's like it's a well-known click ware thing.
Oh yeah, it's responding.
Yeah, so it's just steals all your data.
Yeah,
and steals anything that it can off your computer, essentially.
Man.
But it wasn't like, what made it so egregious is this is a political figure who is
definitely.
like head of a law enforcement agency that talks about this to the public all the time.
Yeah, like
and they're hosting it on their website as it's like a Cloudflare. You know how like sometimes you get the Cloudflare identity thing or like a CAPTCHA thing. It's like the Cloudflare thing, but it's a fake one.
Yeah,
it's not a real Cloudflare one, and so you go there, and the other one, is just regular old like downloads to your computer and like runs automatically when you visit when ad plays from that website. This all started with like Sony and some other corporations intentionally installing malware during the heyday of CD making and stuff like that would be like crash your computer when you tried to like burn a CD and stuff like that. If you installed their software on your computer when you were like using one of their CDs or DVDs or something like that. And I mean, that's during like the Windows XP era.
Yeah.
Like,
you still see that today with like kernel level DRM and stuff like that.
Exactly. So like all that stuff it's just malware that's being promoted by a corporation. The difference between it being an illegal group that gets prosecuted for doing black hat hacking or attacking, is how legitimate they are in the eyes of the people that they bought. They're doing the same actions that like an anonymous or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so egregious to like copy this into your command terminal. I mean, it's just textbook malware.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to me because you're right. I mean, it's a government, and I know it's not in the context of the government agency, but like the dude still works there. You gotta have. It would be like finding out an off-duty police officer is like committing crimes. Like, sure, he wasn't on duty when it happened, but you're still a police officer.
You're not supposed to be doing that.
You should be getting extra scrutiny for this because you know better. You definitely know better. You can't feign ignorance,
Yeah.
There had to be a million people in his office screaming at him that you can't do this.
Nope. And evidently not.
Like, in the hiding, in fact, too, I mean, it'd be one thing if it was just like, hey, this is my thing, and for you to use my website, you have to go do this thing, and just be upfront that you're having them install something. But this, like, you're also hiding it. So, like, not only is it I'm having you do something bad, I am actively hiding it from you, actively lying to you about what it does as you put it on. You're right. It feels very much a rules for thee, but not for me.
Right.
Sort of situation that needs to have something happen about.
So everyone should be using AdGuard when they're off their network, especially on their mobile devices. And everyone should install a Pi-hole in their house yesterday.
I've been thinking about it. In all honesty, probably. I don't think I've got the time for it right now. But over the summer, I'm gonna like take some time off on certain days. I do think I'm ready to make like the Pi-hole jump.
Yeah, get your. Look, I know a lot of people run it on VMs and stuff like that, and that's great. I love having it on a physical, just on a NUC. You can buy an old like $50 NUC or a Mac Mini or something like that. Install Linux on it and run it, and it's beautiful. It works really great. Using services like that, DNS blocking, keeping your stuff up to date, your computer's up to date. But I mean, ultimately, this is just you are going to have to start like not going to websites like that too when they do things like that. Add them to your block domains. So let's see what the cider's like a little bit warm. I already know because I've had it a lot in the last like year.
I think it is significantly better. Heat warmed up a little bit.
I like it a little bit warmer. I also like it with a little bit of rum in it. It works really, really well with those rum flavors.
I definitely see
It's
that.
like a cider mule, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that.
It's not bad with whiskey in it, especially if you get something like a bourbon that's got like some cinnamon notes.
I was gonna say
and stuff
you
like
really
that.
need something kind of smooth for it to not like get too harsh on it. But no, when it warms up, a little bit brighter. It's more appley. I think it's more receptive to you tasting some of the darker flavors.
Yeah.
Like I'll admit, I didn't really catch much of the like brown sugar when it was cold,
but you
do
taste it
more
now
once it's warmed up. Yeah, it's a pleasant experience.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful color whether warm or cold. When it's not got, because there's always a little bit of lees in homebrew. If you avoid getting the lees out of the bottom of it, it is like a nice brown golden color from the molasses. It's a really beautiful cider. Anyways, this has been Season 9, Episode 9 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. It's slated to come out on June 15th, 2026. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.